Thank you, everybody, so much for being here today. On this month's episode of Design Dialogues, we're talking about what we're calling unseen essentials. So I think everybody knows that obviously aesthetics are a huge part of outdoor design projects, and there's a lot that goes into it, but it's really often the last kind of 5% of a project that makes a big difference. And within that 5%, I think that's when a lot of the elements that we're talking about today kind of come into play. So we'll be talking about integrating systems, and how you should plan for that in the schematic phase, using smart lighting scenes and doing lighting layers and things like that. We'll be addressing and correcting the biggest misconceptions when using controls or lighting or heating or any of those kind of electronic tools that you have outdoors. We'll be establishing the best workflows and also exploring upcoming innovations. I always like to ask my guests kind of what they see coming up in the future so that we can get a little sneak peek as to what we can expect going forward. So today I'll be your moderator. My name is Ashley Smith, and I am the Director of Architect and Designer Partnerships for Plana Group, which is the ownership company of Urban Bonfire and Kalamazoo. So I've been doing outdoor kitchen design specifically for 10 years. It's 10 years just last month, actually. And then I was an interior designer before that. So I do have a little bit of background in interior design, but most of my career has been focused in the outdoor sector. And a big part of my job is just really connecting with design professionals and talking about the things that I think people are going to care about. So that's what this series is, Design Dialogues, where I get to bring in different experts so that I get to learn, but I also get to share this knowledge with our audience. So I have two amazing panelists with me today. I'll let them introduce themselves. Colleen, how about we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ashley. So, hi, everybody. My name is Colleen Reinhardt. I am responsible for West residential specifications at Lutron, and I've been working with Lutron for about 5 years now. I did both a little bit of commercial and residential, so background in both. And I also come from electrical engineering. So anything technical is really my jive, but it's very nice to be here.
Thank you for being here. We're excited to have you. Megan, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Megan Spies. I am the brand marketing director at Bromic Heating. I'm really excited about this topic. I've attended one of your panels before, Ashley, and I really like the opportunity to speak on behalf of trade professionals that we partner with and help our audience learn about different solutions. My background, I come from marketing my whole career, but most recently before Bromic, I was in the home appliance space, so focusing on the interior of the home, and so happy to make this extension to the outdoors.
I think a lot of people kind of move from the interior to the exterior. I did the same thing. And I think it's really helpful because it allows you to have that perspective from the inside, which is what everybody is bringing outdoors. So I feel like we're a little bit ahead of the game in that way, that we have that ability to think of the indoor and how you can apply that in the outdoor setting.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into it. So lighting, I mentioned this, lighting controls, heating, a lot of the time are treated as an afterthought and kind of come up as people realize, oh, maybe I should have included heaters here or I should have had lighting here as they're using their space. So because we're talking to design professionals today, I wanted to ask, how can architects and designers integrate these systems into the initial schematic phase to ensure that they feel like invisible extensions of the home instead of add-on components, which is sometimes how it can feel?
For me, it's a lot of a mindset shift a little bit. Lighting controls, they can often be seen as accessories, like you said, an adder to something else or an adder to the design. But we like to think, at least from my perspective, as architectural element. And if you think about it, lighting affects heavily how you experience a space. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's been in a space that was poorly lit, and you could remember how you felt and what that experience was because it was poorly lit. And so reframing your mindset as it is an architectural element, not just an accessory that you add on to the design, is the first step, in my opinion. Having early conversations on how do you ingrain the lighting and controls within the design, not just do the design and figure out how the controls fit into it afterwards, is a big piece. So it has to be that early conversation of, hey, how do we bring it all together And actually, I'm going to use what you just said. Going from the inside to the outside, the interior design can be extended to the outdoors in many ways, especially with controls and lighting. I can think, for example, of our intelligent lighting portfolio, which is architectural lighting inside the home, has a version of it that's meant for a covered patio, for example. Or if you have certain companies that integrate our technology into landscape lighting. So figuring out how do I take that quality of light or that control that is already inside the home and just continue extending it throughout the entire property so it works as one unit. So I feel like those are elements to think about.
Yeah, this is something we talk about a lot in outdoor kitchen design specifically too, because there's such strict standards, or at least like rules of thumb for interior kitchen lighting. So you have your task lighting, your safety lighting, your ambient lighting. And so we try to get people to think of that same thing when they're designing their outdoor kitchens as well, because you're using it in the same way that you're using an indoor kitchen. So why not just think of it the same way as you do for the interiors? And then obviously, Megan, heating is something that in Canada, we focus on a lot. And so I think it's prioritized in a lot of our projects, but how do you kind of get ahead of this and make sure that it's not just added on afterwards and as part of the initial phase?
I mean, so it's really interesting because we did a research study months ago, and we really wanted to uncover what consumers and homeowners were thinking about when they planned an outdoor space. And unsurprisingly, to the topic of this discussion, you think about furniture, you think about things you can see, you think about all of those elements that are going to, how am I going to use this space? Do I like to entertain? And we really need to peel back the onion a little bit beyond that to um, thinking beyond like what products do you need to how is this space going to be used? How often do you want to stay in this environment? Will you be, entertaining most of the time, or, with family and or even solo moments? And when we think about the investment that comes with planning an outdoor space, if you're only using that space in the summer months or a couple times a year, or when it's light outside and you're not planning for when the sun sets, I mean, for lighting and heating, we have a lot of similar challenges, right? Because it's that invisible luxury that really makes all of the difference once the sun goes down or once the heat's gone. So we just need to bring top of mind to, again, think about how the end consumer is going to use this space. And if they want to use it all the time, then we need to make sure that heating is more top of mind when planning for an outdoor space, and lighting and all of those touches that really make a space livable full time as opposed to just partial time.
Yeah, we talk a lot about, I'm going to call them shoulder seasons, because summer is the big time in Canada in particular. And I think in a lot of the States as well, or sometimes summer's too hot. But, and then you have the seasons just before and just after it. And you're trying to extend that as much as possible so that you're able to use the outdoor space for as long as possible, especially in the places I think where it's a bit more limited in the amount of time that we can spend outside of these shoulder seasons. So I'm really happy that this is something that we're talking about and that it is something that we're focusing on, and that there are amazing companies like yours who can help us with all of these designs. I'm going to shift to lighting for a second. So, Colleen, this is a specific question for you. And it's, how do you advise designers to use smart lighting scenes to shift an outdoor space function from like a daytime to an intimate evening retreat, as an example?
Yeah, this is one of the things that I love to talk about the most. It's made me a little bit of a lighting nerd working in that industry, but I think historically we've always approached lighting and lighting design by zones, right? So I have the pendants and I have the downlights, and all of those are separate elements that have each a switch or a dimmer that I'm controlling. And instead, I always encourage designers to think in terms of moments in time or atmospheres that they're trying to create within a space, not the individual lights that are actually installed and working within that space. So if you think of the patio, it's a multi-purpose area. During the day, you might want to do some grilling or watch the kids play, right? But in the evening, you want those lights to maybe dim and warm up and accompany you into the evening. And at the same time as this is happening, I have, like it's shown on the screen beautifully, I have accent lighting throughout the landscaping, or highlighting architectural features of the home. And so it's creating, I call it a little cocoon of lights, which brings that relaxing, intimate atmosphere in outdoor spaces, which, by the way, can also be enjoyed from inside the home. I'm bringing this project up where you have that living room. It's double height, floor to ceiling windows, looking out to beautiful pine trees on the outside, and it's so beautifully lit that it creates this dramatic effect that can be enjoyed from anywhere inside the home. And so
Mhm.
I think lighting can create that effect and that feeling wherever you stand and wherever you are in that space. And so lighting scenes, they bring all of the elements of lighting and contrast together into one single command that touches on the different layers of lighting and allows the homeowner to select an experience. So they're not manually doing all of that or accessing all of those different products. They're selecting what experience, what feeling, what activity do I want to do or feel or be in that moment in time. So I think it's a beautiful way to approach it. And you can even take it further. You can add scheduling and have those lights come on at sunset, so your house is breathing with the sun cycle throughout the day. So yeah.
That's amazing. It like takes the thinking out of it, right? It's just you always have the perfect lighting, essentially, if you select the right
Yep.
package, I'm going to say for you. I love the idea of creating these cocoons. This is something in my last design dialogues, it was a landscape architect that I was speaking with, Dan Houchard, and he said that you're always trying to create these little cozy spaces. And I really think that lighting helps so much with that. And then actually, great segue, heating does too, right? Because the outdoors is so vast and so expansive. And so you're trying to create these little moments essentially in the outdoor space that people can really enjoy through lighting, through heating. So, Megan, what are the biggest misconceptions designers have about incorporating heating solutions into high-end luxury outdoor environments?
So it's so interesting because when Colleen was just talking, it's I was just reminded that it's really not about lighting and it's not about heat and its base form in terms of what they provide. Like lighting provides a function so you can see things, heat provides a function so, obviously you're warm, but it's so much beyond that. And you know, I think one of the misconceptions about heating that it is just like, and you have the fire pit up here, that you have this source of warmth and everybody's going to gather around, and it really is just about being warm. It's not. It's creating a space that's usable, that's functional, that evokes this certain um, time, so that the moments that you have together when you're with your friends, or if it's a solo moment, that you're able to truly enjoy that. So it's beyond the
Mm.
function of what our products really provide. And so that's one of the misconceptions. If you think about, oh, I'm going to put a fire pit, I'll be fine. That's going to heat a very limited portion. It's beautiful. It's aesthetic. It's really there for a purpose. But if you want to have full um, enjoyability of your space, you need to plan for that accordingly, just like with lighting. So it was interesting that you said that. And I think another misconception too is that heating has to be intrusive. If you think about,
Mm.
we've all seen the flame towers or the mushroom heaters, or like either on like at a
Yep.
wedding or in the pet, you just kind of pull it out and it can get kind of rusty, and all of those things are a huge, ugly propane tank. If you think about the heating solutions that, particularly with Bromic, that we have within our portfolio, bespoke solutions that really complement an architecture and a design, or can be seamlessly integrated, and you don't even have to see it, and it's just luxury that you can feel. I think just those are some elements that really work well. We're meant to complement um, and work with the design and rather than detract from it. And so that's something that I'm very proud of, is this portfolio of solutions that we have for our design partners, so that we're here to support. I always say, like, we're the backup singers to your beautiful design. So that is the star of the show. We're not meant to compete with that. We're meant to complement that so that clients and customers can enjoy that space as much as they want to throughout the year.
I love that. And it's so, what you said just resonated with me so much, in that, a heater, people associate with heat. But if you don't even need to think about it and you're just warm, like that is really what you're trying to achieve. It's not like I see heater, no, I get heat, or I see fire pit, I get heat. It's the things that you're not seeing that are just doing the job without you even thinking about it. Like that's really what everything that both of you do kind of adds to the outdoor setting, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because if it's done well, the heating, the lighting, then you don't notice it.
Yeah.
But if it is
Yeah.
not, and if it's not present, then you're like, oh, I am not enjoying my time or my space. So
And it's when everything comes together. It's like, think about walking into your favorite hotel, or, so it's this smell, it's how you feel, it's atmospheric, and you can't really pinpoint. It's not one thing, it's everything working together to create that moment.
I think in the next slide we talk about this too, but it's that luxury, because we talked about luxury outdoor environments, and it's the luxury of not having to think about any of these things, of them being accounted for and already incorporated into the project. Sorry, Megan, I think this was one of yours, but yeah, when the guest has to think, then luxury stops. And I thought that was like such a good summary of this, because it's these unseen things that just make you comfortable and make it easy and make it so that you don't have to think about anything, and you're just able to enjoy the space without, worrying or having any, I don't know, worrying is probably not the right word, but having any intentional thought as to why you're enjoying the space. You're just able to do it. So ease of use is always something that we talk about a lot in outdoor kitchen design, and you want to kind of eliminate any barriers to being able to use the space, right? And so I think that's important. Obviously, we talked about it a little bit already, Colleen, when you talked about lighting controls, but how do advanced integrated control systems, how do they bridge the gap between separate elements like lighting and heating, as an example? Like, can those both be together so that you're creating a truly seamless and responsive outdoor experience? I'll go with you, Colleen, if you want to grab that first, just because you talked about it a little bit already.
yeah, absolutely. Well, pulling that thread of when the guest has to think or when the homeowner has to think, luxury stops. We want to provide a system that's simple, and that's a phrase that I hear quite a bit in my day to days. I want a simple system, or I want something simple, which is totally fair to expect when it's your own home. So homeowners don't want to have to juggle between multiple apps to get to what they want, or they don't want to have to make those additional decisions. They actually, if they wanted to juggle between apps, they'd have to know, okay, this lighting is from this company, and then this heater is from this company. And so it's a lot to keep in mind, and really not what we're trying to create within that space. So I think having that interface where they can just, from a single button, from a single command, control the entire space, whether it be the temperature, the lighting, the shades, revealing and concealing views, even outside of their home, that's what we're trying to create. And integration is such a powerful tool. It requires to have a trusted partner that is good at integrating all of those things together. And there are many platforms too that do it well. From the perspective of Lutron, I think we try to play friendly with everybody so that we could talk to Bromic heaters, or we could talk to Sonos speakers, whatever it may be, in a way that doesn't require extra work or gear or whatever it may be. We've also introduced partnerships recently under the umbrella of Native by Design, which you may have heard of. It's basically not just compatibility with other brands, but integrating our technology into other brands' fixtures or products, so that it is a synergetic partnership between the two. And it makes it easier on the homeowner, but it also makes it easier on whoever is specifying the product. So making it easy for everybody on that project to create that experience and offer that platform for the homeowner to use their space as one and not multiple apps.
I love how collaborative that is. I think we're really seeing a shift in companies and being a bit more compatible with it's not like, well, this is mine and I own this and like nobody else is gonna be able to use this. It's like, no, we want everybody to use this so that they can integrate our systems into their homes as well. And I think that's a shift that the industry has had over the last little while. Like since I've been in the industry, I would say that's something that I've seen that I'm really happy to see because at the end of the day, everybody's goal, all three of us, are trying to have a happy customer, right? Like no matter who that customer is. And so whatever we can do to get to that happy point, I think it's great that we're thinking outside of the box in that way. Megan, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
I think Colleen summarized it really well. I mean, if the easier a space is to use, the more use you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
And consumers don't think about, should I turn on this? Should I turn off that? They want a simple solution for everything. And that's the expectation. It's really like table stakes at this point. And the only thing I'll add to it is that for our design professionals that we work with as well, the last thing, who's getting the call at the end of the day, it's going to be whoever's specifying the project. So designers, architects, they want something that's very turnkey too, because they want to make sure that their customers have a solution that is going to fit all of their needs. So they're not getting the call because they're the ones that are on the hook at midnight, when something doesn't work, or let's face it. So we want our trade partners that we work with to rest assured that the solutions that we put forward are easy for their clients and their customers to use, be it a commercial space, be it a home, that we have integrated solutions that work well throughout the ecosystem of, again, a home or a commercial space.
I'm going to do something that I said I wasn't going to do and throw you a question that we haven't talked about that wasn't prompted, but it made me think of it because when I think about ease of use and client expectations and all of these things, I think about maintenance as well. And so I did want to ask a quick question just on like, if you have all of these integrated controls and things and you have these systems that are all in one, I imagine it makes it easier if servicing or anything like that needs to happen as well. Would that be accurate?
It is, in my experience, having more integrated solutions, certainly. Most homes now have their panel control systems, and so everything's there. And if they have a home connected system that everything integrates, it makes it for definitely something that can be maintained easily throughout the life cycle of products that are working together.
I think too, having systems that talk to each other well, or a central platform that understands the language of each system in the home that can take feedback. Nowadays systems are smart enough to tell you if they're doing well or not. And so getting that feedback from whatever is inside the home, that maybe maintenance is required or an upgrade is required, whatever it may be, that plays again to that peace of mind, that ease of use, because I don't have to, keep a calendar of, hey, I need to do those services every few months. My installation is going to tell me for me. So I think that plays into that too.
Yeah, definitely. And not guessing what's wrong. Like essentially the system is telling you this is where the error is happening or this is the issue that's happening. And then being able to address it so quickly. We do that at Kalamazoo too. This was just a natural little plug that I'm going to do. But on all of the grills, if there's anything basically that goes wrong or if it's not functioning as it should, there's a code on the bezel where the knob is. And so it's telling you exactly what it is that you need to be looking for or like what the easy change is. And I think limiting any downtime is really kind of what we're looking for our clients so that they can enjoy our spaces and their spaces, obviously for extended periods of time without having to get somebody in to maintain something super often or, a big, long, sometimes it takes a long time for these fixes. So trying to limit that as much as possible. I think that's probably something that all three of us are trying to do.
Yeah. Especially when you have houses that are the second or third home where they might not spend their entire time there, but when they go, it's for 2 weeks and it has to work. So I think that's even more crucial in those times. Yeah.
Certainly. Or if somebody's traveling and they have the app control so that, whoever's at home, they can have oversight over it if they're not there. And So I think it makes for seamless control for whoever's in the home, or if somebody's staying there, or if you have friends and family, whatever the situation might be, that you would have that flexibility.
And peace of mind, I would think too, because you have access and you can see
Okay.
what's happening at all times. All right, these are kind of all the advantages. Let's go into some pitfalls. So, what are some common pitfalls that when you see heating, lighting, control systems are installed by different contractors, which is something that we had kind of said, if you have a really good partner, then this can go really well. If maybe you have different people working on different parts of it, what is the best workflow to ensure systems talk to each other um, and are effective for the client? Megan, do you want to take that first?
Sure. I mean, I guess the most obvious answer is if everybody's focused on their, I'm focused on the kitchen, I'm focused on heating, you're focused on lighting, that everybody's on their own system and nobody's talking to each other. So a lot of our clients or customers will work with home integrators and somebody that is solely in charge of making sure that all of the systems do operate together. And I think timing plays into a lot of it too, because if we think about the things that we know we want to have in our environment, things that we can see as we've discussed, if you're not thinking about the electrical requirements that come with planning, heating, or lighting, or these other, I'm kind of segueing into that planning, but it's important to call out, because if that's an afterthought, then that affects cost, that affects power, it affects outlets, it affects, so I guess to summarize, the sooner we can get ahead of like all of the elements that are needed for a remodel or for a new build, and have that centralized meeting in the beginning, the better off everyone's going to be. I mean, we all know how many people are working on projects when you're doing a space, but making sure that that communication is clear with an integrator or a PM is critical.
Do you end up talking to other companies? Like, because I mean, all of us we're one part of a larger project, right? So do you end up talking to the lighting company or the control company? Like, do you have that source of integration or collaboration as well? Or is it usually done through somebody that's kind of working on the project, that's like the project manager and able to do the communication with all the different teams?
Every project's different in my experience, so I
Of course.
probably the short answer, I think there's a way it could be, but if you think about some customers will use an interior designer solely for their interior, and we're seeing that shift more and more to outdoors. Or you'll work with your landscape architect on specific elements of the home, but your architect on another. So I think it really just depends on the relationship, your end user, whoever that is, your end consumer, and how they've set up everything with their team. And so what we try to do, knowing that there are so many different players on any given project, is make sure that we have the resources that are available. So we have an internal design services that's set up for end consumers who are working on their home, and they want to be really involved in the decision making projects, and get the education on the heat plans that they want for their home, but that support's also available for designers, architects, and other specifiers who may not be as familiar with planning outdoor heating. So again, we're there it's your design. We're here to take a look at the plans and help you understand the electrical requirements and the type of heat coverage that you can expect, and then provide those different options so that it's available for you. So it's really just about providing understanding all projects are different and nothing is the same time after time. How can we support every single key stakeholder within a project to make sure that we're answering all of those questions as best we can? That's what our approach is.
Yeah. And I guess you're brought in at different times too, right? Because obviously the best case scenario, I think, is when you're brought in at the beginning so that you can have these conversations from the beginning. But that doesn't always happen.
Sure.
And so you have to be able to adapt
Not
to
at
like
all.
where you are, where the project is, where the client is. And It's all part of the job.
Yeah, you either have a year to work on the project and you're talking, I'm working on a project, like a new home that's, they're breaking ground now, but it's not going to be done until September. And then I got on a phone with a hotel that wants to do a renovation by November. So it really just depends on everything. And I'm sure we all have a lot of stories like that.
Definitely. The audience too, I'm sure. Colleen, are there any pitfalls that you've seen kind of when people aren't talking to each other or people are working too much in a silo?
Yeah, well, I think Megan was right on the topic with early communication. That's the biggest thing when you have that many systems or parts and pieces in the project. If they're all working independently, then not only is everything specified independently, but then the homeowner experiences it as disconnected pieces. So that early communication is crucial. Understanding together as a group, and when I say as a group, I mean the architect, the builder, the integrator, the electrical contractor, all of those people on the project. Understanding how does the homeowner want to live in that space and what is that control strategy look like then, knowing that. But the biggest thing for me is responsibility. So there are many aspects of a lighting control system that are included. There's the shades, there's the lighting, the controls, the installation, the programming. And so also agreeing early on who does what and who's responsible for what scopes within those systems is not always something that happens, but it is crucial so that we all know what we have to do to get the project from start to finish. And along those lines too is documenting those decisions and those discussions early on in the project so that it gets bid properly, especially when it comes to lighting. The electrical contractor might bid it very drastically differently if it's a wired versus a wireless system. And so knowing that early on so that you bid it properly and then the right budget is allocated for different scopes of the project makes that conversation easier with the homeowner in the end. So I'd say those are the things that come back quite a bit.
Do you have a kind of list, like a questionnaire, I'm going to say, or like a checklist of questions that you go through when you're brought on a project so that you can find all of these things out? Or is it kind of like Megan said, every project is different. So the questions you might ask are different. But like, how do you make sure that you get all of this information every time?
Yeah. Well, it's always early conversations. I think I always start with understanding how the client wants to live in it. What is their day-to-day look like? What rooms matter more than others? Because they might not want to put the same sort of budget or system inside the laundry room as they do in the living room or theater. So understanding deeper like that, how they use the home and which areas they prioritize is the first thing that I'll ask. And obviously understanding how they're trying to interact with that system. Is it by voice, by keypad, by automation? So all of those questions I typically ask on projects. And I could get you a list as a follow-up to this if that's helpful. Yeah.
I'm always curious because I think as somebody who works in the industry, it's like it's so easy to remember all of these things. But for somebody who's outside, it's like there's so many things that you need to consider that I wouldn't even have necessarily thought of. So it was just my curiosity because I do like to learn from all of this as well. And like we know that we're one part of a project, like the outdoor kitchen is one part of a project. Megan, to your point, like every time we tell people to think of their gas or electrical or any requirements that they have that they need to bring utilities out for, it's like, don't just think of the kitchen, think of everything else that's around. Think of the heaters that need electricity or the fire pit that needs gas and everything so that you have all of the BTUs, you have all of the, electrical requirements and so that you can plan for it accordingly. Because again, that's the pitfall, right? If you're only thinking in a silo and you're just working on your one part and that's all you're focused on, then you're not creating this like seamless integrated system or experience for the client at the end of the day, which is what we want. But yeah, I like to try to finish off the questions with just kind of what we could expect going forward, things that you're excited about. So looking forward, what innovations in smart technology or energy efficiency are on the horizon that will further allow us to blur the lines between indoor comfort and outdoor exposure. Do any of you have anything exciting that you want to tell us, or something that you're excited to see or talk about?
Yeah, I can start. Actually, I think what we've talked about before about the collaboration between brands and the true desire to work together to deliver that experience is, like you said, it's something that I'm seeing more and more of and being very excited about, because it is exciting to work together towards a common goal. So that would be one thing for me. In the realm of controls and lighting, I think automated window treatments is definitely something that I see growing. Glazing is not reducing on modern home design. I think we're seeing a lot more of it. And so that requires a lot more control of the daylight that comes into the space. And especially with energy efficiency, how do we let daylight in so we use less electric light inside, but also block daylight to prevent heat gain and regulate the temperature inside? So I think automated window treatments is something that I'm excited to see growing as opposed to manual on projects. And then overall, just less about adding technology, but more about designing spaces that adapt to how people live. But whether it's lighting and shades that move with the sun, or just the ability to recall moods and atmospheres within the home with a simple touch, I think that I'm very excited for.
It's really about this time of outdoor spaces being designed with the same intentionality as interior spaces. And that's really what it all comes down to, where it's not I don't know. I grew up with a concrete slab and some grass in the backyard, and then that was it. You pull in your portable, grill, and then you have a barbecue. I live in Southern California, so we're used to being outside a fair amount of time. But when the sun goes down, you're inside, and then you wrap your night out there. So now, for me, it's moving beyond the extension from outdoors and like indoors to outdoors, and it's really about sitting just outdoors and seeing designing every aspect of that, from cooking to really creating a space that, I mean, I'll go out and just say it's the new heart of the home. And this is where it's people are defining their spaces with nature and entertainment, and stepping outside of the walls inside, and really reimagining what their full footprint could look like. So just continuing to evolve and have that sort of dedication to the outdoor space, be that foliage, be that what outdoor cooking you have, be it lighting, all of those different elements, and seeing how that comes to life. It's a really exciting time, I think, for all of our brands together.
Yeah, certainly. And I think the example on the screen here is also a really good one, because it's basically a transition space. So you said this, Megan, and it's like, it's not just about the transition from indoor to outdoor, but it's about creating this kind of like seamless experience. And so sometimes I think that comes with this kind of tiered system, I'm going to say. So like here, it looks like it's just an extension of the indoors, but there are no walls, or there's just the roof. And then outside of that, you don't have that roof structure. And so you're kind of creating this like gradual experience where the client is getting kind of more and more outdoors. And I like seeing that too. And I think with these transitional spaces, it helps, especially with like older populations, or maybe as people are growing like older in their homes or aging in place is kind of how we're talking about it. But I think having these transitional spaces are so important for lighting, for being able to adjust, letting your eyes adjust, and everything like that as well. So I think there's a lot of advantages to it, and we're just really kind of scratching the tip of the iceberg on what we can do out here, and how we should be kind of designing these spaces. Because yeah, like you said, in the past, it was, you had a door, maybe it had a window on it, and that is what you saw of your backyard. And now you have these walls that totally open up. So the expectations are very different.
Even just usage, right? So you're inside, you used to go to a party and then you could sit outside for a little bit and then you go back inside. I have times where we'll just stay outside the whole night. Nobody goes inside unless you need to grab something really quick, but the experience is the outdoor moment, and that's throughout the year. Again, in Southern California, but still it's because you have the heating elements. It does get cold at night for for us here, even if it's a different cold that you're used to, Ashley, in Canada. But it's um, it's really just about that. It's like, where do you want to gather and where do you want to bring people and have that moment? And you can do that. We have so much flexibility now that we didn't before, where you had to just be in the living room, or you had to be just really expand your whole footprint of the home.
And I'm excited to see hospitality design kind of influencing residential more and more. Like we're creating those resort like outdoor spaces and those cocoon of luxury and comfort and relaxation in your own backyard, which that I think it's super crucial.
Yeah, I love seeing that. I love when we, get a project and somebody says, I saw this at a resort that I was in, I don't know, Italy somewhere. And I loved it. I loved that experience and I wanted to integrate it into my everyday life. How can I do that? And they're getting you to help them with that. And so it's not only you're creating these memories and this feeling for your clients as well, which I don't know. I love. I think we're really lucky working in the design community and being able to help clients like recreate these spaces and these memories that they can kind of share with their loved ones. I think that's really, really nice on whatever scale that is.
You brought up such a great point, and we've seen that usage of space when we have commercial clients come to us and they weren't able to use. There's this one hotel in Arizona, and it's a beautiful hotel, and it's very aesthetic, and it's great views. But until they integrated lighting and until they integrated outdoor heating, it's desert. It gets freezing. People were going inside, and so they had so much unused space until they did and they thought through that and they renovated with our products, and so now they've maximized the time that people can be outside to create this to really leverage that feel. And if they don't, even with our commercial partners, if they're not integrating that, then it just goes unused and it sits there throughout the year. So that was a interesting point because we had been so focused on residential. Just want to call that out.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. And it's funny because we think like hospitality is also it's commercial, but it's very different from commercial. It's like hospitality is influencing residential and then that is then influencing commercial almost. And it's this kind of chain reaction that you're seeing a little bit. But yeah, why not in an office? Well, why not have an outdoor space if people we know there are so many advantages of being immersed in nature. Like we're seeing it. There's a lot of studies that are being done on it. And so why not create these spaces for your employees or your clients, even when they're coming in to kind of visit? I feel like we're seeing it. We're getting there. All right. We did have a lighting question that came in. So Kate put it in the chat and she said, what would you recommend for integrating task lighting in an outdoor kitchen that is located in a sunken deck? There's no overhead structure to mount lighting and there's no backsplash. Also, no sconces on the exterior of the home. I came into this project at the very end, so wasn't able to pre-plan the electrical locations or lighting, and toe kick lighting will only do so much. Colleen, do you have any
That's
recommendations here? It's a specific one. It's a good one.
I know it's very, very detailed. I love the real application. It's a good question. And I'll preface this by saying that I am no lighting designer, so I'll answer to the best of my abilities. But working with a lighting designer is always something that I strongly recommend because they have the creativity to answer those unique applications and dive into it. But I think I was going to suggest some sort of linear lighting around the area to bring general lighting into the space. You can always also play around with. I know there's a lot of companies out there that do outdoor floor lamp or table lamp, that you can place strategically around the space to create that general illumination and bring some lighting into it. Or I think I see a lot of integrated lighting. In interiors, we do integrated lighting into shelving and countertops and things like that. And so working with the manufacturer of the outdoor kitchen, figuring out how do we integrate the lighting into that installation can be a solution to bringing that if you don't have the opportunity for overhead or sconces, which would give you that added layer of lighting. So I think that would be my recommendation. But it's a really good application to think through.
We've run into this a little bit as an outdoor kitchen manufacturer. Sometimes we do get some of these questions. I would say the most unique application that I saw that I think is really well done is to integrate planters and have landscape lighting in the planters.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hidden. You're not seeing it so much. Some of them can be solar powered too, so you don't even need any electrical. And it's allowing you to create that task lighting that's specifically focused on the counter. So if you have planters on the side of the kitchen, or you just have like an herb planter kind of in the back of the kitchen, I think just putting a stake light, I guess, can be a good solution there. Often with any sort of outdoor kitchen, there is some sort of electrical component that is required for it. So whether it be the igniter for the grill, or depending on what other, if you have refrigeration or anything out there. So electrical will need to be run there regardless. So there's always maybe things that you can do to have controls within the kitchen, even if it's not planned for on the house or elsewhere, where you can kind of hide some of those lighting controls or, plugs, elements, and things like that within the cabinets. We did get another one that came in too. I'm happy to see it. I always love when the people who are on here are as engaged as us. So what outdoor design trend do you think has real staying power, and which ones do you think will fade?
That is such a good question. So outdoor design trends that are here to stay versus fade. Well, I think I'm biased here, but the things that we've talked about today about integrating those unseen aspects, I think lighting, we've definitely seen a rise in interest and integration early on in the project, and so curating that lighting experience outside is something that I believe will stay, and not just that, but also lighting that aligns with the natural cycles of the sun is something that we focus on, and that I see a lot of interest in. So I'd say this is something from the lighting side that I can confidently say, or at least hopefully say, that I can see staying. For trends that are fading, it's such a good question, and I don't know that I necessarily have an answer for that. Yeah.
I think that's fine, because it's funny. When I first started working in this industry 10 years ago, it was a trend. Like outdoor design was a trend. And now that is something that it's just an expectation. It's totally integrated into our everyday lives, and it's integrated into every plan that we see. And so I think that's always an interesting kind of concept or thought. It's like, what's going to remain a trend, and what is actually going to be something that we just adapt and include in our everyday life? Megan, do you have anything that you have seen kind of that you think will have lasting power versus things that will maybe fade?
I think you just kind of nailed it. The trend is like outdoor living is not a trend. So it's like removing that terminology and that way of thinking. The outdoor space is just an evolution of your footprint of your home and how you're using your space. And so I think it'll be interesting to see health and wellness, obviously. And this is kind of off topic of what we're talking about, but we see a lot of in combination of what we're doing, having these micro moments outside the home. So I think it's thinking beyond the backyard. And I don't consider this a trend. I think this is just where the state of the environment's going to, where it's not just about a backyard, it's finding a side yard, or it's the front porch, or if it's thinking about these different micro moments off the kitchen nook, where you're really just maximizing your outdoor footprint and rethinking what that space could be. I just did a show home in Dallas, and we had 4 different moments where we integrated our heater. One was on the front porch, around a fire pit, because it's a perfect complement for that. And then one was off the primary bathroom suite for a solo moment. And by the pool house, and then the other one was by the kitchen, outdoor kitchen and dining area. So these different micro moments throughout the home is we'll see more of that. But I hesitate to call that a trend because I think this is again just the natural progression of how people are thinking about their outdoor space and being intentional with the usage of that.
Yeah, I think it's just a shift that we're seeing, and I think that might be a good word for it. It's just us adjusting our expectation about, what you can put outdoors and having the same intention as you do with the indoors. One of you said that before, and that's such a good word for it, I think. Um, I think you'll see a lot of the same trends as you do indoors, so colors and things like that in terms of furniture, finishes, flooring. I think just following any indoor trends, it's probably going to be really similar because you have that seamless transition between the indoor and the outdoor. So you do need to have the same kind of design intent and aesthetic from the indoors that you do outside. So, I mean, not to, you know, talk about the millennial gray, but that's something that we're seeing less of as my generation gets older, and we're starting to shift our design focus into kind of those more warmer tones. But I think honestly, like one of the things that I'm loving just seeing about design in general is that we're designing for the individual person so much more than for an overall trend. And so you're getting to know the client, getting to know how they're going to use the space and what they like and what kind of aesthetic choices that they make, or, what do they love in their indoor, and how do you recreate that outdoor? I feel like that has been such a shift. And I think it's been a really good one, so that we're seeing more unique, personalized spaces that are more representative of the person who lives there. So I hope that that's not a trend. I hope that that's something that does stay, because we are all individuals and we are all unique, and we should all love our homes. And I really do think that it's such a prize when it is a representation of who you are as a person. So Cindy, I feel like we failed you on this question, but I think it's because we all have really positive thoughts on outdoor, and we don't think that, any trends are going to affect it.
One thing that did go away, not to cut you off, but it's like I think about like putting, like, before you would have a space and you would just throw a pool in because you had kids, and then that would be a solution for it, or it would just be that. Now homes are evolving with the or more organically. So this kind of goes in line with what we're saying. So maybe rock pools are going away, or like the what you would use to just a one and done. I'm gonna set it and forget it, and now there's just a lot more thought that goes into the planning for the individual needs, like you were talking about, Ashley.
Yeah, everything's just a bit more integrated. It's not just like you plop this down and then you put this piece over here, and then it's, what are you going to do in this space? And so what do you need there? The intention, I think, is just really important.
Thank you so much, Ashley. This was really insightful and enjoyable conversations. I think what I'd love to leave all of our beautiful attendees with is, when it comes to lighting and controls, at least with us at Lutron, we don't see it anymore as just illumination, but as creating those unique experiences, indoor and outdoor, and actually connecting the two together. And so it's, how do you, we talked about how do you tailor the home, the experience to the person that lives in it. And that's at the core of everything that we do, and helping homeowners reconnect with nature and their space and their feelings even within that space. So I think that is what I would love this group to take home. Yeah.
Speaking specifically to the design and build community, you create bespoke spaces, and we're here to complement that and to support that however best we can, and really remove the barriers that your end consumers and customers would have to enjoy that space year round. So we're here as a support, so please use us. Our design service is free, and we're happy to walk through plans and help you specify, check that off your list in terms of how we can get integrated use so your customers enjoy all year long.
Amazing. Well, we timed this perfectly. Thank you so much, Megan and Colleen, for being here. I appreciate having you, and I look forward to future collaboration with you all.